Authority. Does this information come from an expert?
Yeah. This is a huge one. Especially in the internet age, this is the big problem, right? Getting medical advice from a plumber and plumbing advice from a doctor.
Yes. And there are a lot of people who are, graduates of Google University, and they believe they know everything there is to know about a topic, but the truth sometimes is not quite the same.
That's right. So we want to know who's the author, also who's the publisher, the source, and if there is a sponsor of this research or of this writing, who is that sponsor?
What does sponsor mean, Barney?
That's the person who's writing the checks, or that's the person with the money.
That's right. And this is the first time that's been mentioned, but when you're not sure about a source, follow the money. Find out who's paying for that magazine or that journal to be published, who pays, who are the donors to the university where that professor works.
Yeah, and if you really want to get deep with newspapers and magazines, you would go so far as to who is advertising in there.
Yeah, because those things can all have an influence on what is written and what gets cut from that magazine or art journal or book
Right.
publication. And also, who's the author? Look up the author and find out about them. Does the author have the relevant credentials? What kind of degree or education do they have?
Right.
What school did they study it at? Is
Right.
that a school that's well known for studying in that area?
Right, and if they have professional qualifications, what is the organization with whom they're connected?
Yes. Are they connected with a NGO that works in that area? Have they written books in that area? Is this topic in the author's area of expertise? Now, this is an interesting one. I can think of an example of a person who is a very excellent biologist,
Right.
but these days a lot of the things he writes and talks about in his public appearances, instead of talking about biology, he's talking about religion.
I know who you're referring to.
And that is not the area he got his PhD. That's not the area where he built his reputation.
Right.
But there are a whole bunch of people out there saying, I have a PhD, so you should listen to me.
Right.
Well, what did they get their PhD in? Is it the subject that they're talking about or not?
Right. Again, we want to get our plumbing advice from a plumber and our medical advice from a doctor, not the other way around.
And don't listen to a psychologist when they're talking about virology. Does the author have contact information? Which can matter because it means that you have the opportunity to communicate with them, to clarify things
Right.
if you have a question or a problem.
Right.
And you could do that through the publisher, or some professors have an email address on their professor page at the university where they work.
Right. And also we want to check for that author's citations. Now, what do we mean by that?
Citations are a very important word.
Yes.
Another thing that you can find when you're looking online is you can find clues in the URL. The ending of the web address gives you .com.
Right. Business.
Anybody can start a .com address.
Right.
.edu or .ac,
That's an educational institution.
only academic organizations can get an .edu address or a .ac and then a country code address. .gov means that it's a government organization.
Right.
It's run by the government. And there are some kinds of facts that, if they're published by the government, they're very reliable.
Census data, for instance.
Yes. Yes, census data, population statistics. .org,
Is-
organizations can get this. Now, some organizations publish very reliable information. For example, something like UNESCO.org
Right.
has good cultural information.
Smithsonian.
Yeah, Smithsonian. But some organizations do have political bias or other kinds of biases. So when you see an organization website, it is useful to learn about that organization and find out where their money comes from.
Right.
.NET, anybody can have a .NET address. Any Yahoo with any unreliable opinions can start a .NET website.
Right.
So check the URL, because some URL endings will mean that you can trust something a little more than others.
Right.
Now, back to citations.
Yeah, this is a big one.
This is a really big one. What are citations?
Well, these, as it says, they're one of the best ways to know if a piece of writing is recognized and respected by other experts, and it's a very easy thing to check how many other writers, how many other researchers have cited this person.
That's right. When a writer quotes another writer's work in their own writing, that shows a lot of respect for another person's writing. It's saying, this person's idea, this person's writing is so important, I'm going to use it too. Because they're adding their idea to my work makes my work stronger.
Right.
When you find a piece that has a lot of citations,
That's usually a good sign.
that means a lot of other experts have found something valuable in that writing.
Yeah. Now, before the internet, it was probably very difficult to see how frequently a writer had been cited. However, these days, thanks to scholar.google, as you see here on the bottom line, it's a very fast and easy way to see if a writer has a lot of citations.
Let's take a look at how Google Scholar works. Here on Google Scholar, at scholar.google.com, all you need to do is put the name of the author into the search bar, and it will show you what they've written. And if you look down below, it will give a cited by number, which tells you how many other experts and scholars have used this article or this book in their own writing. So 9 citations, that's not very much.
No.
Not a very important piece of his writing. 1,000 citations is very good.
Yeah, that's getting substantial.
This is substantial. Yeah, this person has gotten respect from other experts. But 105,121, that number of citations is, now we're looking at one of the most influential books or articles in its entire field.
Right.
And that's true in the area of international relations. Pretty much everyone has to read this book probably in their first year. Another thing you can do is you can also look up the title of an article here. Do you happen to have a favorite article, Barney?
A favorite article off the top of my head?
Off the top of your head? No?
No.
Here's one that I enjoyed. This one, The Retribalization of the Modern World, only has 2 citations. So this was an interesting article, but when I looked it up, I found out it hasn't received very much respect or been repeated very much by other writers.
Right.
So when I'm deciding which articles to use to feature as important in my own writing, and knowing that this one has not been cited by many other writers means that I'm gonna slow down and think again about how much I'm going to use it in my own writing.
Right. Doesn't mean you can't use it at all, but you should be careful about hinging an entire piece of your own research on that article.
That's right, because it hasn't received the kind of recognition from the community of experts that other writing has. So we have to measure it differently. So look up the name of the author that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Look up the book that you're thinking about quoting.
Or the article title.
Or the article. And if something has more than 100 citations, that means that other experts in that area have recognized that it's respectable, it's good writing.
Yeah.
So, and that increases the authority score of the writing.